before I transitioned, being an all women of color context, I always felt like it was kind of the wolf in sheep's clothing kind of thing. And that was actually really what helped me kind of realize and get to the place of recognizing what it is I needed to do, because of realizing and being honest about who I am, despite my feminist principles, and because it was hard. It made it difficult. You know, my feelings about men and my experiences with men and my experience of sexism and misogyny made it really difficult to accept the reality of who I am. I was born and raised in the Mission District in San Francisco. My neighborhood's also always been a very working class neighborhood, and you know, various immigrant groups have gone through the Mission, called the Mission home, and it's been a starting place in the city and in this country for a lot of people. There's something really deep about that and really special about that, and it certainly has influenced how I see the world. Two things happened in high school. One is I came out as a lesbian. The other thing that was happening was that it was the first Bush's war. And it was those two areas of my life that I became really active. And so I was one of maybe a handful of people, for example, who walked out in high school in protest of the invasion in Iraq. The other thing was that I was very out, very kind of like, you know, stickers all over my jacket, and very queer youth active. And in fact, that's how my dad found out. He was locked up at the time, and his friends saw me on the Spanish news talking at City Hall about queer youth issues. And so he was concerned about my safety, and that was the message I got back. He was worried about what people out in the world were gonna do to me. I'd say that was a pretty positive response. Before I transitioned, I think I primarily identified as a dyke, as a butch dyke, as a Chicana butch dyke, and I certainly had feminist principles. I identify now, because it's not very complicated, I identify as a man. I identify as a, if pressed, a mestizo dude, I don't know. That's who I am. Predominantly, that's just who I am. I identify as queer, for the most part, you know, and just because that's, I mean, my history is what it is, and so queer, I mean, it's a particular way of seeing the world. I have a big family, and most of my family, 80% at least, is in the Bay Area. Anything I do, but certainly something as significant as transitioning, is not gonna go unnoticed. I'm my parents' only daughter, so it's a big deal to not be anymore, and that was a big deal for me. Given all of that, I've been very lucky and very fortunate in that my family has been, they just kind of roll with it. They've embraced me in the ways that they know how. And, you know, that's all I can ask for. I don't expect them to get it completely the way I do. No one's going to, it's my experience. But I've also learned to be really sensitive to their journey, because they do have one. There are grievances and losses for them as there were for me. And I think that they are as happy as I am about how good of a step and of a direction that my journey has taken, because it's improved my life tenfold. The people who I considered my community and my peers and my friends when I was a young queer woman of color has not changed. None of those people turned their back on me. None of those people pushed me away. None of those people, you know, denied me. I just think our relationship is really genuine, and it was based on more than just the fact that we were both queer women of color. Before I transitioned, I was very aware, if not completely conscious. It was certainly physically felt it, how far involved it was appropriate for me to be. As a man, and how I maintain, you know, my feminist politics and principles is related to that I'm very conscious of the kind of space that I take up and occupy, how I occupy space. as a man, as much as I can honor and celebrate and support and encourage and contribute to things that specifically serve queer women, queer Latina women. It only goes so far. I understand that. I come from that place. I'm not there anymore, and that's a very different thing. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. As I've sat more in my own skin and have been comfortable, confident in who I am, and happy with who I am, my focus of activism has broadened dramatically. The only way that I can describe it is that my vision for quality of life, and this is essentially what it is for me, is my activism is about quality of life for all my relations. And all my relations is a big term because it means that. It means beyond people who describe themselves the way I do, beyond the people that I'm related to, beyond the people from where I'm from. All my relations is all my relations. Humans, non-humans. And so it's really enabled me to look for the commonalities with people as opposed to the differences. And I think as a young person, it was really about, now this is who I am, you're not this, and this is my experience, and these are the ways that I'm oppressed and you don't understand, and this is my focus. That's changed dramatically for me.